The Great Commission of Jesus tells us to make disciples, to then baptize people, and then thirdly and finally, to teach. Teaching is one of the primary functions that all of us accomplish as members of the local church. As churches and pastors and leaders, teaching disciples of Christ is one of the primary ways in which we raise them up to become more and more in the image of Christ. And so teaching takes all kinds of different forms, but one of the main forms is through a sermon. And so if you've ever sat through a sermon, then go ahead and like this video, because we're going to talk about rethinking teaching a little bit in this video. If you've ever delivered a sermon of your own, then give us a subscribe, because we're going to help you craft that in a way that can live and exist on YouTube in a hybrid manner. And well, regardless of whether you're in either of those camps, turn the bell on, because in this playlist we want to help you navigate teaching and YouTube. And in a playlist linked right here at the very top of this video, we are in a series and a video playlist called YouTube for Youth Ministry. Whether you're in youth ministry or in church ministry, this playlist is all aimed at helping you and your church become relevant and post things on YouTube that can live beyond just a one-time meeting. And so one question that I've been grappling with in this entire playlist is, does teaching, is it required and mandated to be in person? Obviously, all of us like when things are in person and it feels more comfortable, but in today's video, we'll unpack that question and we'll explore these three things. Number one, in person versus online-based teaching. Number two, the best teaching component that I believe is already embedded and included in the YouTube algorithm and is a huge and strategic advantage for most churches. And finally, how do you reduce your nightly commitments of being out of the house and in church meetings, and how do you reduce that by half? Welcome to the Hybrid Ministry Show. Well, everyone, welcome to the Hybrid Ministry Show, and we are on the downhill slope of YouTube for Youth Ministry. We're on episode 96 here, which means we're only 4 away from the 100th episode, and I have a really special and very different interview style 100th episode coming up. It is going to be awesome, but we are in this playlist here now talking about YouTube for Youth Ministry, and one of the kind of key grapplings is, does teaching have to be in person versus online? And little spoiler, the second point of this video is talking about the best component included in YouTube, and that is playlists. And that's what we're going to be looking into today, is creating playlists for YouTube and youth ministry and how you can go about like adding your teachings to YouTube. But the first question I think probably demands a little bit more of a philosophical response, right? Does teaching, is it required to be together in person? And so let's just be honest. Let's talk about a couple of things. First of all, online and the internet is phenomenal, right, for a couple of different things. And in person is phenomenal for a couple of different things. And they are uniquely different. And so one of the reasons why we can't just only like live stream our videos to the internet and leave it at that without coming back behind it and optimizing it for the internet is because that's created for an in-person moment. And like a YouTube video or a podcast, those are created for like online types of learnings or conversations. And so I think that online is actually a fantastic content delivery source. And I think in some cases, raise your hand, give me a like, comment below if you've ever been in a PTA meeting or if you've ever sat through like a government presentation that is like PowerPoint heavy, or if you've ever been to like something from your kid's school that you're like, man, I could have done this better, right? Because it's boring and they're like kind of droning on like the Charlie Brown teacher. But the internet is actually strategically and uniquely positioned to be really good for content delivery. We have things like podcasts. We have things like online courses. We have things like YouTube videos just like this. In fact, what I would love to do is offer right now, I'm offering 3 slots, and I have one of them already filled, but 3 slots of 100% free online, hybrid, and or YouTube coaching. And so if you're looking to go from ground zero to actually doing something on the internet, I'm offering 4 sessions of coaching, 100% completely free to you. All I ask is that you actually use my service and that you give me a killer review if you believe that my services demand that. But I want to help you get up and off the ground because there are a lot of opportunities on the internet. Now, but that being said, you and I are like, well, bro, we did this. We lived during COVID. We know how much it stunk to be forced to be only online, and we all missed in person. And that is 100% true because in-person ministry and in-person moments are best for things like community in things like relationships. Just like you can teach a message while you're in person, you can deliver content while you're in person, online offers a unique opportunity for that. And in the same way, you can experience community online, things like Discord channels. I'm a big Oklahoma City Thunder fan. I experience a lot of community through things like Twitter during Thunder games or people who play online video games. So community is also possible online, but we all know it's best knee to knee, eye to eye, shoulder to shoulder. That's why things like small groups and discipleship often happen best in in-person settings. However, there are also moments where an in-person group, we meet together, but we have a group chat that stays pretty active throughout the week. And that's one of the ways that we stay connected to one another. That's the power of hybrid. And so in most cases, most churches I've ever been to or seen are using and utilizing in-person trainings in their teachings, that element of the Great Commission, as must-see TV. Hey, parents, we have a screen time workshop, and it is on Saturday at 11 a.m. Hope to see you there. As if that content can't be captured and recorded and disseminated otherwise and afterwards. Because what's our goal? Do we want parents to be equipped and learn the information that we're presenting, or do we want their butts in the seats to cover our attendance numbers, right? And so while it's necessary, I'm not proposing getting away and doing away with in-person teachings, right? I do want you to understand that it doesn't always have to be an in-person experience, and YouTube gives us a really amazing opportunity to do that. And I'll actually help you get started in this for free. Link down below is my 100% completely free hybrid strategy guide, going from zero to actually starting to do something. And one of those elements is recording videos and posting them to YouTube. I have a gear list in that ebook for under $100 to get you going with cell phones and tripods and microphones to get up and running and start recording some videos and posting them to YouTube. But next, we're going to look at what YouTube already has, which is this component called playlists. So anything that you might be tempted to turn into a class or a meeting or a workshop or a meetup or an after church like pizza with the pastor sort of thing, any one of those that isn't like relationally charged, I believe, and even if they are relationally charged, we can repivot and reposition the way that we're doing it so that it can be included in a YouTube playlist. However, playlists are basically like free courses on YouTube's platform. So like here's just a few examples and ideas of things that you could use in a playlist setting, but it's not limited to these things. The sky is truly the limit, and anything that you feel like you could use or might need down the road in the future, like you can take these and use them. So like this is one we have done. We created a like baptism class. Like what is the theology behind it? Why do we do it? What are the biblical implications for it? And so we just film little videos explaining those things. You could also do one on like the Lord's Supper or, why we take it, the symbolism behind it. You could do like an Old Testament survey, a New Testament style survey. You could do a playlist on like spiritual gifts and volunteering in the church. And so first, like figuring out what your spiritual gifts are, and then second, like how to discover where the opportunities are. You could do one on lust and purity and battling like addiction in that way. You could do ones for parents on like screens and technology. You could also do one on like the problem of evil. Why do bad things happen? People are always asking that question. It's a really relevant topic. Leader trainings, parent workshops. Like, in the video link down below, we talked about the importance of asking and answering specific questions for students. And so While a good strategy is answering specific questions for teenagers in the land of this playlist conversation, you're doing that with your sermon series as well. But what's like a question, that like you have to answer on a pretty frequent basis that you could capture and post to YouTube? And I get it. You're like, well, I've done the work, the content, I've sat in front of a camera, I've delivered it, but now like I want to make sure it looks like good for YouTube. And hey, I also, in addition to free coaching, I'm also offering a limited time offer for some free video editing. And so if you want 4 or 5 professionally done videos that you can include into a playlist type format, I would love to help you do that. Same stipulation as the coaching, just use it and just leave me a review. And you can get more information for that down below in the show notes. And all of this leaning into hybrid, leaning into digital, right? Let's be honest. It's going to help you default into being able to spend more time at home. Because whenever we're like, oh man, we need to host this parent meeting, and we already got Wednesday nights, we already got Sunday nights, so I need to figure out another night of the week that parents are available to host an informational meeting. And so that has to be like a Monday night or a Tuesday night or a Thursday night or whatever the case might be, right? We default into hosting those things in in-person meetings. And so start asking yourself this question is, can this content be covered in a digital format? Can this content go on a YouTube playlist? It's great for sermon series, by the way. If you start pre-filming your messages, like any message is a playlist. Any course can be a playlist. And now I get it. You're like, well, I really want to be like in person, like working this out with the students. Then yes, by all means, you should be doing those types of things in person. But if it's strictly an information style transfer of things, like that can very easily be recorded and sent out. And you get to do the recording and the sending out and the editing and all the components that go along with it in your office hours. And you get to do that and then be home at night with your family. And so when should a meeting be in person? When do we make the decision that this one needs to be in person? Well, often we default to having it in person for things like accountability. I want to be sure that they're watching this, that they're consuming this information. But if you've ever seen like the learning triangle pyramid, like only 5% of people retain information from auditory lecture style based teachings. And so often the thing we're saying when we say I want to ensure that they get this content is we want to force them to be there because we don't actually trust them to consume the information on their own time. And in some cases that might be valid, right? But rarely is the content delivery and the style actually more captivating than setting them up with some good content and some good editing in a YouTube or a podcast style environment. So here's a fact. Regardless, like as you're measuring these things out, like why in person, when in person, should it be in person, YouTube has a ton to offer, one of which is what we just talked about here, playlists. We're actually going to explore a couple other really cool features in the YouTube platform called the Shorts feature and the Community tab. That video is going to be linked right here on the screen. So if you're ready to jump into episode 97, hit that on screen. Catch us over there on the next one. Don't forget, and as always, we are making digital discipleship easy, possible, and accessible. So stay hybrid.